Hey everybody, this is Mike with the One Stop Co-op Shop, and today I'm reviewing Worldspanners, formerly known as Duel of Ages. And disclaimer that I was sent a review copy of this one. In Worldspanners, players control multiple characters moving around these highly varied constructed maps, trying to complete adventures to gain dominance on the board, gaining cool items and equipment, and battling each other when necessary. And with the third set in the initial 3 that have been released for this new edition, they have solo co-op where you play against an enemy team controlled by an Automa. And you can also play a solo co-op campaign with characters who level up, and you have little narrative passages as you learn about your team. So let's discuss 5 key things to know about Worldspanners. So first, my number 5, which is the least important of the 5, but still important or I wouldn't include it, is the campaign mode, and this is a mix for my taste. So I think for people who like campaign options in tactical games, this is going to be great. You get some pretty nice narrative. It is sort of a weird story in that you are basically like athletes competing in an arena that is like digital, kind of like you're controlling avatars fighting. But they have a bunch of different scenarios. You play against different enemies than you do in other modes. And then, like I said, you have these narrative passages, which teach you more about your team members, what kind of avatars they're going to do best or worse with. So if you want to kind of dig into things and feel like you're managing a team, I think this is all great. Now, on the negative side, there's already a lot to track in the game. So adding on the athletes and kind of like the little bonus cards they can unlock can make the overhead a little bit too much mentally. And also, just for my taste personally, I prefer these kind of games to be skirmish kind of one-off modes, but for the campaign lovers, I think this new mode will be great. For my number 4 point, I'm looking at the randomness in the game and the luck element, and this is also a mix for my taste. So each of the teams has their own resolution deck, which tends to balance out the luck of your draws because you have cards that are good and bad, but if you get a lot of bad cards first, you're going to get a lot of good cards later. But of course, it doesn't balance out the fact that some tests are more important than others. Like sometimes you'll be making like a really important hit check, and if you happen to draw just the right cards, you can like kill somebody with a giant attack. So those who are luck averse, this might frustrate them, although again, it does tend to balance out because you're just making so many checks and drawing so many cards. But you also get into luck with the weapon and item cards you draw as you complete challenges, because sometimes these are the perfect thing for your character and you can suddenly just go ham and kill everybody. Sometimes they don't work at all. Now, to be fair, you can go and join up to characters. You can trade things to make sure they can use it well. But again, the luck element might be something that kind of adds to the fun and variety for some players, and other players might feel frustrated by it. And speaking of that luck element, let's go into my number 3, which is the Automa system when you're playing solo co-op. And this is also a mix, 3 in a row. On the positive side, this is a very straightforward system for what could be a pretty complicated game because characters are having to like get items and shoot things and go on adventures and all this stuff. And they have highly different stats and powers as we're about to discuss. But they did a good job keeping the AI pretty streamlined. They just kind of go through a few things they might do, find the one that applies to them, and just go do it as quickly as they can. Which is important because this needs to be quick to run. When you're playing a full game, the Automa might have like 9 or 10 characters, and having to resolve all their turns would be a chore if it was really complicated. But that doesn't change the fact that it is kind of frustrating because what you do is you draw a card at the start of each of their turns, and that determines what each row of enemies is going to do. So like here, these ones would be attacking, these ones would be adventuring. And there's both a quick system, but an inherently stupid one because some characters are like amazing at fighting, and some characters are great at adventuring, and some characters might be nearly dead, but the Automa might just like send them in to fight against another guy. So it doesn't take anything into account of like what their actual strengths and weaknesses are or what their current situation is. Now, again, to be fair, if it did, it would probably be too long and complicated, but at the same time, just be aware that you're going to have the Automa doing boneheaded things sometimes. So a bit of a mixed bag, but it's still cool that the Automa system works as smoothly as it does. But for my number 2, we're finally getting to a full-on pro, and those are the characters. And oh man. So yeah, if you buy all 3 sets, like in the bundle they have, you get a lot of people, just a lot of people. And they are hugely different. They're from history, they're from fantasy, they're from sci-fi, and their strengths and weaknesses and abilities are just tons of fun to experiment with. You will never have a game that plays out quite the same. You can have forces that are focused on combat, forces that are focused on avoidance and adventuring. And then when you add in the items they can have equipped, you first of all get like hilarious emergent story with, I don't know, some like ranger holding a rocket launcher, but also just lots of variety and tactical options. It's a ton of fun, certainly one of the biggest selling points of the game. Although one small caveat, since you have all these different characters with all these different powers, plus the enemy, if you're playing solo co-op, it can sometimes be a lot to keep track of what their powers and special abilities are. But as much fun as the characters and the variety and the emergent story is, really the main selling point of the game, the thing you should come away with most, my number 1, is the tactical play on the board. And this does relate to the characters and the items and all of that, but there's just so much you can do here. And first of all, there's so much variety in how the boards come out. There are a ton of these platters and keys to put together to form the board, but you can set up choke points, you can defend things against other players, you can hunt people down, you can have have somebody with a rifle sitting in the middle of a place to pick people off if they come into their territory. And the adventures themselves are really fun and thematically hilarious. And in the end, it's really just like an area control battle because you're running back and forth trying to capture these adventure points while also fighting each other and trying to eke out as many victory points as you can in a limited number of rounds. So if you have a tactical mind, if you like kind of tactical movement and positioning and team-based combat, you're going to have a blast with this one. So overall, if you want a skirmish adventure game with crazy variety, every game being totally different, and lots of cool tactical choices, Worldspanners might be for you. But on the other hand, if you don't want to deal with some fiddliness, if you want a solo system that's going to be consistently smart, because this one is definitely not, then you might not fully enjoy this one. And if you want to see it in action, I did a recent playthrough of the skirmish mode, and my older preview play showed off a bit of the campaign mode. Thanks for watching, everybody. Good gaming, and I'll see you at the next stop.